bringing somebody to an award show where loads of people are there and it's like you're an honor, you're the first Black person to win something, when this person says the N-word and they keep it in, they want you to know you are beneath. They own you. They're giving you like a bone, but with that bone, they're giving you like a jab at the same time. Like, to me, that is what the messaging sends. African spirituality believes that everything is connected through a system. It believes that you are a living person of your ancestors. And that is the practice that I believe. So I really feel like when you say these words, you're tapping into your ancestral evilness or your ancestral wickedness, and you're trying to remind somebody their place and how you see them.
Sometimes it don't make no sense. Does it really have to? There is nothing I can say.
Hi, welcome to Mayowa's World. Hi y'all, welcome to Mayowa's World. My name is Mayowa, and on my platform I like to talk about colorism, featureism, texturism. I want this video to be one of the shortest and quickest videos because I'm sure we've all seen what's going on with the BAFTA awards and how Michael B. Jordan and Delroy were called the N-word live, and it was kept in the recap of the BAFTA awards. I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about this video because I feel like a lot of things have already been said online, but I actually wanted to talk about the N-word being used in this way and the spiritual repercussions of doing that. Before I continue, I am promoting my Patreon. So if you're not a Patreon member, you should join. I make videos and early releases on there, and I also make exclusive videos just for my Patreon. So Ryan Coogler, who is the director of Sinners, was the first Black person to win an original screenplay at the BAFTA. And of course, this is going to be a massive award for someone. I personally, like, anytime something rewards like the first Black anything, I always look sideways because that usually means that Black people are gate-kept out of that system, but it's still a big win for Sinners. So when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy were receiving their award, a guy called John, who is a Tourette's campaigner, screams out the N-word, and they left it in.
Good evening. Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making.
We're here to celebrate the artists who expand what's possible.
I also wanted to speak to how racism in the UK functions, because people like to talk about how the UK is like a post-racial society because it's so quote-unquote diverse. But I feel like they are so good at gaslighting people and putting front this PR that they are so progressive and don't really have the same issues like Americans. But the fact that they can have this happen and they screen it, come to find out that John had also made a homophobic slur, but that was cut out. And I just think it's just like a public humiliation. And that's why I call it a humiliation ritual. Which is ironic because the director, Akinola Davis, who won an award at BAFTA, when he was winning his award, he said, "Free Palestine, free Sudan, and free Congo." And BAFTA edited that out of what we saw. But when two Black men are being called the N-word, we leave that in. And I want to talk about the spiritual repercussions of that and what that does to the psyche. I actually believe that award shows like this are humiliation rituals for Black people. I feel like when Black people win these kind of awards, they are going to give you the award, but they want to remind you of your place.
La La Land. La La Land has 14 Oscar nominations this year.
Guys, I'm sorry. No, there's a mistake. Moonlight, you guys won Best Picture.
Moonlight won. Come on, this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I'm afraid they read the wrong thing.
You get an Oscar anyway. Why can't we just give out a whole bunch of them?
I'm going to be really proud to hand this to my friends from Moonlight.
Seeing conversations around this online just reminds me of that, because Black people are always expected to give grace. And I think psychologically, when you're always giving grace to someone yelling a slur at you, or giving grace to somebody degrading you, giving grace to somebody humiliating you or being racist to you, what happens is that you see your emotions as secondary. And in the kind of economy we live in, they are really wanting Black people to know that you are secondary, because then you start to move and act as secondary. I'm not really gonna divulge too much into the whole concept of talking about the Tourette's syndrome, because that's not something I have, and I've seen a lot of disability justice, Black disability justice people talking about that. And one thing I don't like about this conversation is how people are denying that Tourette's syndrome isn't real. and saying that, you know, he could have, you know, that it's just not, it's a made up thing. So I definitely know it is a real thing. But at the same time, I think literally John is a white man, and having a white man at the forefront of disability justice and having so much care and empathy for how he slips up is something that I'm just not in the business of, because I know that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that your impact of what you do and say exists in a vacuum. It's kind of similar to people who talk about how they work with patients who have Alzheimer's and they scream the N-word at them or they physically assault them. That just because you have a disability doesn't take away the fact that those things are still incredibly offensive. And I believe that you should and I believe that what you do after those things matters. So, you know, the fact that you scream it out and nobody and everybody just wanted to keep going like that was normal, you know, because I've seen people like, you know, whenever you see like presidential campaigns and people come like in resistance, like let's say like Trump has a campaign and somebody will come with a sign that's like F Trump and they start holding it up, people start like booing and attacking and pushing that person to the side. But when this person said the N-word in a crowd, everybody was quiet. Nobody verbally wanted to say anything to be like, why would you say, you know, nobody wanted to defend it. They wanted all the labor to fall on the two black people to sort out that, dealing with the processing that racial pain. And I felt bad for Delroy too, because Delroy's actually a black British person. And I feel like there's something more insidious about the group that you grew up in humiliating you. You know what I mean? Like if you're America and someone calls you the N-word in the South, at least for me, that hits differently than if I'm in Hungary or Germany. All of it hurts the same, but there's something a little bit more, yeah, because you know where they're coming from. And I believe that giving him the benefit of the doubt and believing that he's just like not this racist person.
Syndrome is a disability, and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette syndrome has no control over their language. We apologize if you were offended.
And it's just like a slip up. When, mind you, he didn't feel the need to apologize and defend it. He didn't feel the need to give a proper apology. So why would y'all come to his defense and make him the face of disability justice and to say that he has no control of his actions? He absolutely does have control of his actions. He absolutely does have control of those things. But, you know, I want to talk about people who use the N-word and what that does to you, what that does to your psyche. I really believe that we are literally living as our ancestors, like all of us, you know? And so I think that when people say the N-word, I honestly believe that they're channeling into their ancestral harm, right? So the concept of saying the N-word to somebody is like almost like it's an ownership thing. Like people globally, the fact that the N-word has globally exists everywhere just shows you how anti-blackness is global. And if y'all know anything about Afro-pessimism, that's literally what the foundation of Afro-pessimism is believing. But just the idea that anti-blackness is global and people know how to weaponize it, and the harm and the intent exists the same way. And it's essentially to remind you your place. It's said to you to let you know that I see you beneath me, you are beneath me, right? Like it's a degrading word. Bringing somebody to an award show where loads of people are there and it's like you're in honor, you're the first black person to win something. When this person says the N-word and they keep it in, they want you to know you are beneath. They own you. They're giving you like a bone, but with that bone, they're giving you like a jab at the same time. Like to me, that is what the messaging sends. Another thing with the whole ancestral thing, people have to like move away from their ancestors. Like I think that like modernity and the moving away of African spirituality and demonizing African spirituality, which exists as an ancestral spiritual practice, the removal of it is like believing that we are not our ancestors. These things exist in a vacuum. They're not interconnected. They're just happening. Like this white guy who's Irish just so happens to scream the N-word, which is the same word that people use in the US and the same way that people use on the continent to degrade black people. But you know, they want you to believe that this is an individual situation. It's not connected through a system. And African spirituality believes that everything is connected through a system. It believes that you are a living person of your ancestors. And that is the practice that I believe. So I really feel like when you say these words, you're tapping into your ancestral evilness or your ancestral wickedness, and you're trying to remind somebody their place and how you see them. And as black people, I think it's really important to unpack the giving grace, because I feel like the giving grace part is import of colonialism and import of chattel slavery, which makes you feel like your emotions and your feelings is secondary. And it's really dangerous to hold so much in and to constantly be trying to mitigate your anger and mitigate the harm that people do to you because of how you're perceived, because that's also how you can get illnesses, because you're keeping everything pent up and you're gaslighting yourself. You know, they want you to gaslight yourself so severely that you feel like you can't even access being upset about this because they've already given you an excuse. Somehow he's become the face of disability justice, so where you feel like if you're upset about him saying the N-word, people are going to tie that into ableism. And that is also kind of believing that Black people are stupid, like that Black people can't, you know, that the reason that they're offended by the N-word is because they don't really understand disability. And that's like not the case, right? Like we're looking at the fact of how these things were handled and what was kept in. So like you can say the N-word, but you can't say free Congo. And like those are really important things to recognize, because the systemic oppression of marginalized people is the status quo, right? So saying the N-word is the status quo. Suppressing free Congo, free Palestine is the status quo. And these award shows all do it. Like, I don't even think it's just a specifically BAFTA thing. I think a lot of award shows are humiliating for Black people. It's like whenever Black people have to compete, and it's almost like you have to show that you're different. You have to be so exceptional to be in a space with so many mediocre people. And that's the existence of a lot of Black people. And for all this to happen during Black History Month, I just think it's very intentional. So I am not surprised, you know, and I think the message I really want everyone to realize is that you have every right to be upset about this. And this was very intentional. I don't care what kind of apology they're going to come up with in the next couple of days, or what apology they think that they're doing, because all the apologies suck. And it's essentially just saying that you need to give grace. But like I said, I really feel like giving grace in this context is a colonial import, right? They want you to not access the fact that you have every right to be upset, and they want to diminish how hurtful the N-word really is, historically what it means when someone who is white calls Black people that. They want to diminish that harm because the times, you know, I feel like these things, once again, none of this is existing in a vacuum. Look at the times we're in. Globally, the world wants us to shrink ourselves, and it's really important that we take up space. It's really important that we allow ourselves to become bigger, and to also, you know, in relativity to this, listen to Black disabled people, center Black disabled people, and have them be the ones whose voices are getting heard. Because Black disabled people are actually gonna, like Black disabled people are actually gonna be people who are going to be hurting the most through this process, because there's so many conversations that are turning into ableism because people are so upset about what happened. And so it's important to just be like really mindful of that and just kind of not allow people to get away with doing stuff like that. You know, like being called the N-word is just very hurtful. And so it's a way to rob you of your joy. And I'm not one of those people who's like, don't let them hurt you. Like, don't let that word mean anything to you. Obviously the word means something. Acting like it doesn't, like you're just kind of in denial. So yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Let me know what you think are also some other spiritual repercussions to this kind of action. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.